EU, for example, according to Financial Times, plans to seize 170 billion euro of Russian frozen funds. So I was saying for a long time that this day gonna come. This day gonna come when globalist control regimes all over the West, in Europe, in North America, they're gonna steal Russian assets, and well, they are moving in this direction, right? They are moving in this direction. And by the way, Russia has what to or how to answer on this move. They will steal Russian frozen assets, and very same day or shortly after, Russian Federation will confiscate Western assets, Western investments in Russia, which is also around the 300 billion, even more at this point, if you counter profits too. And Russia is not stealing nobody's profits, by the way, right? Russia is not allowing Western countries or the companies to take out assets. They are frozen, right? But they are safe. And their profits too are safe, right? But Western so-called elites will go ahead and confiscate Russian assets. Moscow will, of course, begin retaliating in kind. But anyways, let's go through this news. Brussels is pressing ahead with the plan to use 170 billion of Russia's frozen sovereign assets back reparation loans for Ukraine. The Financial Times has reported the EU faces growing pressure to find additional funding for Kyiv as cuts back its support, as US cuts its support. Moscow has condemned their assets freeze and warned that any seizure of its money would amount to theft. Western nations froze an estimated $300 billion in Russian funds after the escalation of Ukrainian conflict in 2022, some 200 billion euro of which is held by Brussels-based clearinghouse Euroclear. Their funds have accrued billions in interests, and the West has explored ways to use this revenue to finance Ukraine, while referring from outright seizure. Their G7 last year backed the plan to provide Kyiv with a $50 billion loans to be repaid using the profits generated by these Russian funds. The EU pledged $21 billion. European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen has proposed going further by creating a reparation loans mechanism, which she described as urgently needed to finance Kyiv. People familiar with the discussion said that plan involves channeling cash balances from Russia's immobilized assets into EU-issued bonds, which their proceeds transferred to Ukraine in tranches. Brussels argues their system would provide Kyiv with immediate support while sidestepping formal seizure. Second option under their consideration would involve creating a special purpose vehicle to manage their loans, which could also allow non-EU parties or partners to take part of the funds frozen at Euroclear. About 170 billion euro has already matured and now sits as a cash on their clearinghouse books, the sources said. The plans have already drawn objections from member states. Belgium, Germany, and France have warned that dipping into the principle risk breaking their law and undermining confidence in the euro. Brussels is under pressure to cover a significant portion of Ukraine's needs as Washington holds back on new aid. Financial Times wrote, according to U.S. Note circulated among G7 capitals and cited by their outlet, members were urged to consider seizing the sovereign assets principle innovatively to fund Ukraine's innovatively. Yes, they have to steal Russian assets innovatively. Unbelievable, man. That's the state of the collective West. That's the state of collective West. They are publicly, openly discussing how they're going to steal Russian assets. This is investments, brother. This is not the money of Putin or Medvedev or any other officials. These are Russian people's money, right? These are central banks' investments. And That means this is a Russian money, right? It's a people's money, and they are openly discussing how they're gonna steal Russian people's money, right? They have no shame, by the way. What can I say? It is not surprising that West is doomed. With leadership like that, West just cannot have a bright future, man. It's just not possible, right? Or even on theoretical level. But anyways, as I said, they collective West will go ahead and formalize stealing of Russian assets. Moscow will most likely go ahead and nationalize Western investments into Russia, and it is also around $300 billion, by the way, more than that. I believe it is significantly more than 300 billion if you keep in mind all the profits that these investments generated in past years. Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.